Well, crimping ain't easy. 350 Legend Part 3. Well, how'd we get here? We started by loading a small ladder test 2 videos back, the very first one. And we ran from 27.6 grains LilGUN up to 28.4. Figured out that 27.8 was the most accurate. Repeated that again the next video. We made an alteration in seating depth, but more importantly, we decided we would try to crimp some of these. So fired 60 rounds, 30 crimped, 30 not, same formula for each. And the charge that stands out as the best charge weight is still 27.8 grains of LilGUN. And non-crimped shot better than crimped. Some people will say that that's odd or it's anomalous. So today we're going to test by going one step farther. We're going to have 10 rounds non-crimped, 10 rounds crimped at 1,000th, which is what we crimped last time. And then we're going to step it up and have 10 rounds that are crimped to 3,000. All right, just to be clear, so everybody knows what's going on, we're utilizing the same components, loading the exact same round. Starline now 3 times fired brass, Hornady InterLock 170 grain, 35 caliber bullets, .355, CCI Magnum small rifle number 450s, and Hodgdon LilGUN powder. This is the same combo we've been going through for the last 2 tests, the last 2 videos. Just wanted to be clear on that so that nobody thought there'd been any change introduced at all. What you're seeing here is the target from the first video showing our 2 best groups of the day, 0.99 inches and 0.77 inches, both shot with 27.8 grains of LilGUN. None of these rounds were crimped. There's your velocity and your ES and SDs. Granted, pretty ugly numbers the first time around, pretty decent numbers the second time around. We were measuring on lab radar, and our velocity looks like 2366 on the low end, 2370 on the high end between those 2 5-shot strings. But that turns out not to be very accurate when it's measured against the Garmin and the magneto speed. Here you're seeing the best group from the second video, where we shot a 0.8 inch group, 27.8 grains of LilGUN, not crimped. We got 2,430 feet a second average, SD of 21, ES of 62.7. So not great numbers, but the group was there. This is what we're looking to get this next time around. But maybe we get it better with a crimp. So all 30 of these rounds, they're already done. They're seated. The only thing that's left to do is crimping. They all have the exact same powder charge, 27.8 grains. The seating depth is identical. The cases are identical. Everything is the same, minus how much we're going to crimp them now. Well, setting this 9mm Luger die was a dandy to get it to where I needed it, but I was successful and cranked one out at 3,000th crimp. So I'm going to go for a second one here and see if I can't match that same number. So I end up getting about 374 above or below the mouth, just below the mouth. And then if I get those knives right into the line of that brass, about 370 and a half, 370 and a half. So it may actually be closer to 4,000s. I guess it depends on how you measure it. It's not that easy to do. The knife wants to slide down in toward the bullet. About 373 and a half. If I push down below the mouth, that's past it. About 370 and a half there. Slide off the end. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to get the knife to stick. 374. Slid off. 370 and a half. So the trouble is getting the measurement. I don't think the problem is getting consistency here. at the die. I think the die is doing the same thing every time. It's tough to get a good read on it. 374. $370.5. So I don't know, around 3,500. That's what we're getting on those. Okay, with our 3,000th crimp out of the way, these ones here, time to move back to our 1,000th, and I think we're going to end up settling for about 1,500 is the way it looks from the dummy round that I just did. Get those knives down in below, getting like 374. If I get them right on the crimp, well, about 373. So I guess we are getting about 1,000. The dummy round that I just did, we ended up at about 1,500. Yeah, it looks like about 1,000. So that's good. That's where we want them at. So we'll have 10 rounds, no crimp, 10 rounds crimped at 1,000, 10 rounds crimped at about 3.5. So it's going to be interesting. I'm curious myself, that's for sure. All right, so our short little test here is ready to go to the range and go fly. Got a bunch of cider followers set up in the back. Make sure I get that barrel back in the same condition it was last time we started out. I don't have any real predictions here. I think that if you'd asked me back before I cut that first video which one of these would fly best, I'd tell you that the ones that are not crimped are going to be the most accurate. I got a couple helpful clues from a guy who's got some experience loading the 350 Legend and 450 Bushmaster, I think it is. And anyhow, he recommended trying 3,000th, even 5,000th crimp. 5,000 is just, it's too much. It's too rich for my blood. So I'm going to have to settle on this at least for now. But if there's some great results out of this 3,000s, I could see myself giving it a shot. It just seems like an awful lot for a non-cannulated bullet. Anyhow, I said that to say that I'm grateful that the guy reached out and said, hey, you might want to give this a shot. Maybe one of these groups of 10 solidifies the whole thing and ends the argument for me. Out to the range. Let's make them fly straight. Okay, well, we're out at the range. We've got our target set up at 100 yards with 0.610 inch dots, and our shot marker is up and running. Okay, so that just about does it for 350 Legend with these components and this upper. Interesting results. Crimped at 1000th. We ended up with a 1.65 inch group. Looks very similar to previous groups shot that were crimped with that same amount of crimp. The group that is crimped at 0.003 or 3000ths, 1.4 inch group, it's a decent looking group. There's really nothing wrong with it, but you can't really stack it up to the non-crimped group that looks wholly better. I like the appearance of that group better. It is eerily similar to groups we shot with this same load previously, not crimped. And it also shot the smallest group at 1.26 inches, which is not fantastic. But remember, we're dealing with budget components and a budget barrel. That barrel is not the best looking barrel when you throw a bore scope down it. Making no excuses for it, I'm saying I think we've reached sort of the limitation of what we're going to get out of it with these particular components. It's also worth throwing in here that it is a 10-shot group, and previously we were shooting 5-shot groups. So while 10 shots and 5-shot groups are both technically statistically insignificant, a 10-shot group gives you a slightly better window into what this round's going to do in the real world. So in the end, I found the hunting load I'm going to use for this upper that my son is going to hunt white-tailed deer with in a limited firearm zone. This Starline brass, it'll be on its 4th firing when he goes to use it to take a deer. This was a fun project. I had a great time doing it. I'm sure happy that I had people chime in and give me their recommendations. Even though a couple of those recommendations didn't end up working out, it certainly wasn't their fault. There was no misdiagnosis here. This is what this particular upper receiver barrel likes. And I think we've reached the limits, like I said, of these components. And frankly, I'm happy with the results. So that's a wrap. On to other calibers. You've already seen that there was a 300 Savage video that dropped. There will be a series on that. It's going to be a number of videos to get that rifle to where we want it, or get our load for that rifle to where we want. In the meantime, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you being here. Take care and shoot straight.